I recently did a video about when you think that you are the narcissist, in which I mentioned that a lot of the behavior of pathologically narcissistic people can actually cause a mirror-like effect in which the abuse victims start to act in very similar ways, causing confusion and making victims ask themselves if maybe they are the ones that are the narcissist. In this video, I'm going to go a little more in depth into detail about that specific phenomenon. Welcome to Looking Behind the Mirror, where we explore narcissism and take our lives back as we make sense out of nonsense. As a quick disclaimer, everything I say is based on my opinions and my personal experiences. I'm not a professional, and if you're really struggling, I encourage you to seek professional help. I am providing links below for you. As I've mentioned before, narcissists think that they're defending themselves all of the time. Narcissists perceive threat where there is none, and they believe that they're under attack when they're not. So they act in very abusive ways, in reality for no reason, but in their minds because they're being attacked. But their abusive defensive action actually causes the same sort of attack that they imagine they're under, but onto their victims. So as the abuse victim of a narcissist, in order to defend yourself against a narcissist's behavior, you're going to behave in similar ways that the narcissist is acting, only you'll be doing it for a real reason where they're doing it for imaginary reasons. After a narcissist successfully provokes you into behaving in ways that you feel the need to behave or you legitimately need to behave in order to defend yourself, the narcissist will then focus on your defensive behavior and convince you that you're the one with the problem. Just for example, a narcissist may provoke you and push your buttons and manipulate you and torture you and bother you until you finally lose your temper. And then, of course, you losing your temper becomes the focus. You losing your temper becomes the problem, and the things that led up to that are forgotten, swept under the rug, or you're told that you were just imagining it, or misunderstanding, or overreacting. Narcissists can also exploit your vulnerabilities. They know that there are certain things that you cannot be talked into doing, but they also know your weaknesses. They know the things that they may be able to talk you into doing, things that are maybe questionable, things that maybe you don't think are such a good idea, but if you have somebody there kind of egging you on or encouraging you, you may be more prone to do these things. Narcissists love to push you into situations in which you do things which they can later shame and embarrass you for. And when you look back with the idea that this is what they told me to do, or this is what they encouraged me to do, or they were doing this with me, suddenly everything seems to slip through your fingers. It really makes you question reality and question your own memory, because nothing was quite the way you remember it. Nothing was quite the way it was being represented, because it was being done with the end in mind all along. It's just that you weren't in on it. I'm going to go through a list of behaviors that we can engage in when we are defending ourselves or reacting to the behavior of a narcissistic person. And these are the behaviors that may later cause us to question ourselves and to question whether or not we are actually the narcissist. The first and most obvious is rage, because the behavior of narcissists can be extremely provoking and really infuriating at times. And everyone's got their limits. Everyone's got a breaking point to which they lose control of their anger. Narcissists are on a nonstop quest to push you to that point. And once you lose control of your temper, that's really where they wanted to get you at. That's the point where they can point the finger at you and tell you that you've got anger problems. And really, it's hard to defend yourself when you're the one that's lost control of your anger. Narcissists, of course, are always angry all the time for really no good reason, while the victims of narcissistic abuse are enraged because they're being tormented 24 hours a day. Another behavior that you may engage in is lying. Especially in the devaluation stages of a narcissistic relationship, sometimes we have to lie in order to protect ourselves, or we may have to lie just to try to keep the peace. It could be something as simple and innocent as we forgot something at the grocery store and we had to run back, but we know that if we tell our partner that we forgot something at the grocery store, there's going to be a 3-hour argument about how we're always forgetting things. So we have to sneak back to the grocery store and make up some lie, some cover for it. but we're the one that's lying. We're the one that's going to be shamed for lying later if we're caught. And of course, this was a very innocent, simple lie. These lies can get much more intricate, much more involved, and a lot uglier and a lot easier to use to shame us with later. But the lying is done in an attempt to defend ourselves against something that we really don't have any control over. Another behavior we may get caught up in is the behavior of betrayal. We may betray the relationship and we may lose our loyalty, especially towards the end when things start feeling dangerous and when we realize that we're in an abusive relationship, because there's really no safe way to escape an abusive relationship without betraying the relationship. And when I say betrayal, I mean confiding in friends, talking behind your partner's back about ways to escape, making a plan, maybe stashing money away secretively, maybe making secret bank accounts, maybe sneaking off to try to make living arrangements or try to find a place to run off to, maybe talking to a lawyer where your partner doesn't know that that's what you're doing. Just these acts which to your partner would be seen as a sort of betrayal, but in reality it feels necessary. We need to behave in these ways because we're dealing with somebody that is ruthless and merciless and will stop at nothing to regain and keep control over us. Another behavior that we may engage in is cheating or adultery. And while there's never any excuse for this, just as I've said that not all narcissists cheat, not all narcissistic abuse victims don't cheat. People cheat and commit adultery for all kinds of different reasons, and it's not that unusual for somebody that's being abused and is in a relationship with somebody that won't listen to them, won't validate them, doesn't care about their feelings, is constantly criticizing them. It's not unusual for somebody in that kind of situation to be tempted to enter into a relationship with somebody that makes them feel heard and seen and important and validated. And while this isn't a justification for these types of choices, and we all have to be accountable for the choices we make, it certainly doesn't mean that we're a narcissist if we have engaged in this behavior. However, it would be really easy for a narcissistic partner to accuse their partner of being the narcissist or the one with the problem if they're the one that cheated. And then there's the act of no contact. After we end the relationship with an abusive person, it's often advisable to go no contact. It's often the best idea to never talk or communicate with this person ever again, if possible. This is really a protection for us. This is really the best way sometimes to protect ourselves from a manipulative, abusive, confusing partner or relationship or atmosphere. Sometimes going no contact is really the only way to heal. However, this can be confused with ghosting or discarding or silent treatment, which narcissists engage in really for no good reason. But on the outside, these two things look very similar. They both look like a partner that's simply just decided to cut off somebody that they have possibly spent years of their life with and never speak to them again. And to someone that doesn't understand why this is being done, this can seem petty and punitive and immature, but there can be two extremely different reasons that this is happening. Narcissists will give you the silent treatment to punish you, to make you feel bad. And they will ghost you because they don't want to deal with having an uncomfortable conversation. And they will discard you because they found somebody that's going to meet their needs better than you could. And they're going to do these things with no regard to your feelings whatsoever. But if you go no contact against an abusive partner, you're doing that to protect yourself. You're not doing it to hurt your partner. You're doing it to shield yourself from what they've been doing to hurt you. Another area that your behavior can become confusing is that of a smear campaign and explaining why you've left a relationship. Narcissists will engage in smear campaigns when their relationships end. And these smear campaigns don't all look the same. Some of them can be very convincing and some of them can seem very reasonable and very believable. But if you're friends with someone that has just ended a narcissistic relationship, it could be really hard for you to tell the difference between a narcissistic partner that is really finding fault in everything their partner did and could never be pleased and is never going to be happy and will sit and complain about a partner that in reality bent over backwards and tried their very best to make this person happy. It's really hard sometimes to tell the difference between that person and an abuse victim that's exiting an abusive relationship and is maybe traumatized and really can't stop oversharing and talking about all the horrible things that were actually done to him or her. These two behaviors can look identical to someone that wasn't there witnessing the actions that took place that are causing these two people to behave in this way. The narcissist will complain about their ex-partner because they want to look like the good guy, because they can't accept accountability for anything that they've done, because they got to be the winner, they got to be on top. They got to smear their ex-partner and blame everything on them. Whereas an abuse victim really is just traumatized and needs somebody to validate him or her and help him or her feel not so crazy. They really need someone to talk to bounce their ideas off of, to try to pull themselves back together and recover from a traumatic relationship. We hear so much that a big red flag is when somebody says, my ex was crazy, or all my exes are crazy, but for some of us, our ex really was crazy. How could you tell the difference? I don't know. I think it's just important to keep in mind that you don't really know the truth of anything that anyone tells you. If somebody tells you that their ex was crazy, maybe they're the one that's crazy. Or maybe their ex really was crazy. Another behavior that can be mirrored in a narcissistic relationship is withholding communication. Narcissists withhold communication because they just don't like communicating with people. They don't really want you to know what they're thinking. They don't care how you feel, and they don't care about the relationship. They care about manipulating you. They will manipulate you in place of communication because that's really all they're interested in. Whereas as an abuse victim, you may begin to withhold communication because trying to communicate with a narcissist is extremely frustrating and can actually cause you a lot of harm in the process. You may reach a point in the relationship where you stop trying to communicate just to keep yourself sane. But now you've got two people that both engage in the same behavior, both of them purposefully withholding communication, both no longer trying to communicate with each other, where one of them is doing it because they either don't care or they're trying to punish their partner, while the other one is doing it because they've learned that it really does no good to try and it actually will hurt them if they do. Another behavior we may see is the refusal to forgive, or the refusal to give second chances. Narcissists never forgive anyone for anything, as a general rule. That's a pretty universal trait. Narcissists will even imagine things and make things up in their head that you're guilty of, and they'll never forgive you for that. They'll never forgive you for the things that you apologize for if they didn't even know that you did those things before you apologized for them. Narcissists will look for things to hold over your head. They will look for reasons to hold grudges against you. They will look for reasons that they have the right to feel superior to you and to punish you for the rest of all time because it makes them feel powerful and important. An abuse victim, on the other hand, may learn that forgiveness and giving second chances really only will come back to bite them in the end, because a narcissist will never change. And forgiving a narcissist and giving a narcissist a second chance is really just enabling them, is really just teaching them that there's no consequences really for their actions and that they can get away with the way they treat people. And I want to quickly differentiate between forgiving somebody in your heart silently where they're not aware that you've forgiven them, and forgiving them as in taking them back into your life and giving them a second chance. You can forgive whoever you want in life and it will probably do you a lot of good, but that's very different from forgiving somebody in a way that you actually take them back into your life and behave as if nothing has ever happened. And one more behavior that you will see in both narcissists and their victims is a petty, passive-aggressive behavior, a punitive attitude, resentment, even contempt, where both the narcissist and the victim are really just angry and upset with each other and doing little things to try to get at each other, to get even, just an underlying feeling of anger and a feeling of injustice and a desire to try to teach each other a lesson. It can become very difficult to determine who started it and if these feelings of contempt or resentment are warranted or not. If you live with somebody that is never happy with anything you do, that criticizes everything you do and is constantly complaining about everything you do and making you feel like garbage and making you feel worthless, I think it's reasonable to start to feel resentment after a while. But of course, narcissists feel resentful that you exist, so after a while it can be really hard for an outsider to tell the difference. But what really sets these two worlds apart from each other? There are a list of things that we can keep in mind, especially if we are in the middle of one of these relationships and we're questioning ourselves and we're not sure if we are the narcissist or not. I think the biggest difference is that narcissists do not fear other people. Narcissists fear being exposed and being seen for who they really are, but they do not fear you. Narcissists impose fear on other people. They are very averse to vulnerability. They're never going to show anybody that they feel afraid of anyone else. Their victims are the ones that live in fear. If you are going home at night feeling nervous when you turn the door, not knowing what's going to be on the other side, not knowing what kind of mood this person's going to be in, if you are jumpy and panicky when you realize that you forgot to clean something the right way, or you left something somewhere that you weren't supposed to, or something has happened again and you're afraid that you're going to end up in a 3-hour argument over nothing, you're probably the abuse victim, because narcissists are the ones that engage in those behaviors as kind of a extremely dysfunctional form of coping for them. So narcissists aren't afraid of a 3-hour argument. They look forward to it. You're the one that lives in fear. You're the one that dreads going home. You're the one that's in distress over situations that you feel you don't have any control over. And if you are the one that's been engaging in rage, lying, betrayal, sneaking around, infidelity, silent treatment, if you've done these things because of how you've been treated, and you can actually list exactly the things that have been done to you that have caused you to feel that you must behave in these ways in order just to get through the day and cope with life and to keep yourself safe, you're probably not the narcissist. Narcissists engage in these behaviors because that's who they are. And while they may not engage in every single one of these behaviors with every single person they have any kind of relationship with, these behaviors come from within them. These behaviors are just part of who they are. Whereas for an abuse victim, these behaviors are a way to cope with the specific things that are happening in this relationship because they're with someone that is treating them so poorly. An abuse victim is responding to actual things that are happening. An abuse victim is trying to protect themselves and cope with reality, where a narcissist is reacting to things that they're imagining. As an abuse victim, your behavior is an aberration of your character. You would not normally lie and cheat and sneak around and betray a relationship. You would not normally resent the person that you're with. You would not normally feel passive aggressive or resentful. You would not normally end a relationship and then go around complaining and talking about how horrible this person was. These are not things that you normally do. These are things that you're only doing with this particular person because with this particular person it's warranted. And another way that you can tell the difference is that you're asking yourself these questions. Am I behaving in all of these ways because I'm the one with the problem? Am I the narcissist? You're going to feel guilt and shame when you engage in these behaviors. You're going to feel distress at realizing that you have been full of rage and that you have betrayed a relationship and lied and given someone the silent treatment and spread rumors about them. You're going to start worrying about this and asking yourself, have I gone too far? Have I been fair? Am I the one with the problem? While narcissists sleep just fine. Narcissists can justify these things to themselves all day long. Narcissists feel absolutely completely justified in everything that they do. They do not reflect on their behavior. They do not look in the mirror and ask themselves if they've been fair or if they're the ones with the problem. No matter what you've done to cope with a narcissistic relationship, you can learn and grow and improve. You can take accountability for the choices that you made. You can look in the mirror and self-reflect. You can find better ways to function. You can find healthier ways to cope with life. And you can find people to surround yourself with that don't provoke you into acting these kinds of ways. Narcissists are never really going to do that. Narcissists are never going to find a way to grow and learn. They're just going to keep repeating the same patterns over and over and over again, and they're going to keep engaging in the list of behaviors that I've just gone over over and over again for the rest of their lives, most likely, never learning a thing, never growing, and always thinking that their partner is the one with the problem. I hope this helps. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and comment below any ideas you have for me for future videos. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you like this video and you would like to see more like it in the future. Until next time, thanks. Bye. I gotta show you what I have been hiding this whole time. It's right here.